Hello. Spent the last 20 minutes trying to record a more formatted video, and I'm going to change that up now. I'm going to do something a little bit different. By the way, pure racing flag. That's new. So, we have a Formula 1 championship on Sunday, 3-way title fight going into this final race, and I couldn't be more excited. Lando Norris, Oscar Piastri, and Max Verstappen all have a chance at winning the title. I can't tell you how excited I am for this championship. Last time I was this excited was obviously the 2021 championship, where Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton went into the final race, tied on points, and now we have a 3-way title fight with 12-point difference and a 16-point difference to Norris. While potentially this championship might be a little anticlimactic just because Norris is so far ahead in the championship, well, not so far ahead, but reasonably far where he has a good advantage, it may not end up being the greatest race. But I'm hoping that qualifying might set a good grid for the race. Potentially we'll have a Mercedes or Ferrari up in there that could take that podium position and make it a really good championship fight. Because, as we know, if Lando Norris doesn't finish on the podium and Max Verstappen is leading the race, wins the race, then Lando won't win the championship. So, basically, it's actually up to Mercedes and Ferrari to control this championship. If we get a George Russell up in there, a Charles Leclerc, Lewis Hamilton, maybe a Kimi Antonelli, he's been doing good the last few races, then that could completely change the championship fight. What's at stake here? Let's talk about that. What's at stake here in this championship? Well, Max Verstappen, he has literally nothing to lose in this championship. I think, we might see a lot of Verstappen aggressive driving potentially, because we know how Verstappen drives when a championship's on the line. We saw that in 2021. And it could make for a very interesting race. But if let's say Norris is in 4th place in the race, we got George Russell 2nd, and Max Verstappen needs to take the lead from Oscar Piastri or someone to win the race, we're seeing the biggest dive bomb of the century. Compare that to the McLarens, and you have a totally different story. They have everything to lose, especially Lando Norris. So Lando Norris, he's leading the championship over Verstappen by 12 points and Piastri by 16 points. This would be his very first world championship. And leading by that many points, you have the most to lose. However, compare that to Piastri. He kind of just has to wait around to see what happens. There isn't really much he can do besides just trying to win the race and hoping something happens with Verstappen or something happens with Norris, because that's just how it's going to work. Norris will be trying to play a clean race, get on the podium, make sure he's in good position to win this championship. But Piastri, just got to wait and see what happens with everyone else. So Piastri is the one in this championship fight with the most control out of his hands. So we'll see. We have had practice today, FP1 and FP2. The McLarens look very strong with Verstappen kind of holding on. Ferrari looking terrible. Zach Brown did say today that even though they have their papaya rules and they've been doing that this entire season or trying to keep it very fair between their two drivers, he's not going to lose a driver's championship because he didn't want to do team orders. So I can imagine, let's say Oscar Piastri is 3rd in the race, Verstappen is leading, there's 1 or 2 laps left, and it's pretty evident that Piastri is not going to win the title. He's going to come on the radio and say, Piastri, let Norris through to win this title. And I'm sure Piastri is going to respect that call. He wouldn't want to create any bad blood between teammates or just the entire team as a whole. He wouldn't want to lose them that championship. But we shall see. That could be a very interesting dynamic. Verstappen doesn't have to worry about that. If Yuki Tsunoda has a good qualifying, potentially, and is more at the front of the race like we saw in 2021 with Perez, they might leave Tsunoda out and try and back up the McLarens to see what happens. That could happen. Who knows? Talk about tiebreaker. If the results were different in Qatar, it would have been way more possible. And it still is technically possible for them to have a tiebreaker, but very unlikely. Okay, oh my god. Okay, so talk about that tiebreaker. They are all tied on wins currently. And if Norris and Verstappen tie, which, however, very unlikely, and that is potentially possible, it'll go to 2nd places. And Norris has more 2nd places in this championship, which means he would win the world championship on a tiebreaker, which, poof. Predictions. Predictions. Lando Norris will win this championship. I really don't see it any other way. I mean, okay, we'll see based on qualifying tomorrow. That might change. I can't picture Norris not ending up on the podium in this race. There's no, the only person that I think could stop him from getting on the podium would be George Russell potentially getting up there, Kimi Antonelli, but I just don't see the Ferraris getting up in those positions at this point. So we'll see in qualifying tomorrow if something happens to Norris and he doesn't get on the podium, and potentially doesn't start qualifying in the top 10 or top 6, then we have a fight on our hands. But it's hard to picture the McLarens not on the podium. So I think it's going to be Lando Norris. we'll most likely have a new champion in 48 hours, which I think is great for the sport. No matter who it is, Norris or Piastri, it's great to have a new person on the Hall of Fame. What else do I have to say about the championship? Okay, all I hope is, no matter who wins, I hope we have an exciting final race, because three-way title fight, I think this is my 10th, this is my 10th season. The most I've seen is Rosberg and Hamilton going to the final race, and Verstappen and Hamilton going to the final race. But besides that, I haven't seen a three-way title fight, so I'm very excited. There was the 2010 race in Abu Dhabi where Sebastian Vettel went into the final race and won the championship. But there were 4 people that could have won that championship. It was Mark Webber, Sebastian Vettel, Lewis Hamilton, and Fernando Alonso all were able to win the championship. I hope we don't have a 2010 battle where we had like Fernando Alonso stuck behind the Renault, barely able to fight and get up those positions, because that was more of an anticlimactic season finale with 4 people able to win the championship. So this has been Eamon Ryan from Pure Racing. Thank you for watching. I'm excited.